Welcome to Women Entrepreneurs Radio. I'm your host, Deborah Bailey. And when I started this show in 2008, I was on a mission to promote women-owned businesses and help women succeed by providing resources and valuable tips from other women and men, small business owners. In each interview, my guests speak openly about their triumphs, the scary times, and tough decisions they had to make along the way. Women Entrepreneurs Radio is about showing women how to harness their natural strengths to achieve success on their own terms. Hi everyone, welcome to Women Entrepreneurs Radio, and I'm your host, Deborah Bailey, and I'm really glad that you could join me today. And if you're listening to this on Podomatic, you can also come to iTunes. You can go to womenentrepreneursecrets.com and find the links to subscribe on iTunes or also on Libsyn. Some of the older shows are going up on there, so you can also go by there and subscribe and check out those shows as well. I hope you do that. And today we're going to have my co-host, Kerry Heaps, joins me again. And Kerry Heaps is the founder and publisher of Strictly Marketing Magazine. She's also the host of Strictly Marketing Talk Radio. The magazine has recently spun off an online community for women and men too, looking to gain more media exposure. Pitch like a bitch media. She owns Knockout Marketing, a business-to-business telemarketing and lead generation firm. Her passion is to help other entrepreneurs with their marketing efforts to continue their dream of running a successful business. So welcome, Kerry. Glad to have you back on the show.
Thank you, Deb. It's always a pleasure to co-host with you. We have so much fun, and it's just awesome to be back here today.
Well, we really do, so that's why I'm really glad always to have you come on. And today we're talking about a topic that I've seen a lot of mentioned online. I've probably followed way too many people and really subscribe to too many newsletters. And the thing is putting your business on autopilot. Mm-hmm. The whole idea of it, I think there's good and bad with that idea, but some of it is a little bit pushing it and giving people the wrong impression, I think, of what that really means and what you can really accomplish. Kerry, why don't you start out and kind of share what you feel are some of the pros and cons of putting your business on autopilot?
Well, okay, I'm going to start with the pros. Clearly the pros of that, if you're able to accomplish it, it's going to be, giving you breaks in your business, where you could maybe take a break for a week or go on vacation or, just creating a system where there might be some downtime for you or opportunities for you to work on something else. And I say that very lightly, Deb, because I don't think people realize when you're putting your business on autopilot. The best description I like to use with people when they talk about autopilot, you know how most people have, well, not every car has it, but cruise control. Mm-hmm. Okay, cruise control on your car. Okay, well, when cruise control first came out, and that was so long ago, but I do remember this particular story that happened. When cruise control first came out, and it's a terrible story, but it's a good lesson and it does apply here. There was a couple that had cruise control on there. It was like a camper, mm-hmm. a small, mini camper that they had just bought. And the wife was going to take over driving. They were in the mountains. And she thought cruise control meant that it drives the car for you, that you don't need to be there. Oh my God. And unfortunately, she walked got up and was walking to the back and I guess was going to get something to drink, and they went over a cliff.
Oh my God.
So, and of course it killed both of them instantly, but it's kind of the same concept cruise control is. This is cruise control. Autopilot is like cruise control for your business, but somebody still needs to be at the helm driving it. It's not, when people think of autopilot, they're thinking, okay, everything's set up. I don't have to do anything else and I can go play tennis or drink rum and Coke on the beach, and I don't have to do anything anymore. And that's just not it. So it is good. The pros of it, I would say, are, it gives you kind of an opportunity for a break. Again, the key term here being break. So you do have to go back to it. And I guess maybe the other part is that it does get you to making sure that you have everything in line, that you have presentations in line, you have all of your audio recordings done, you have all of your white papers done, you have your automated, like the e-book or e-newsletter, everything, all of your electronic products will need to be done. So it does force people to get into that habit of getting all of that done. Mm-hmm. So I think that could be considered a pro. But I think that's it. It's just really those two things that are a pro to it when you really look at it. Because again, I go back to that example of cruise control. Autopilot really is cruise control for your business, and that doesn't mean that you get to walk away. You do that, your business is going to plummet or go off the cliff per se, like I shared with that story. So those are the two main things. The cons clearly, I think, outweigh the pros by far, because the cons are, again, it's that misconception. People think autopilot, they think I'll create everything, I'll set everything up, and I don't have to do anything. And it just goes on and on and on, and I'll continue to make money. And you have to realize those sales that do close from an autopilot sense, meaning you have a tweet that went out to someone about a product that you do, and they look at it and click on it. Okay, this looks good. Then they get an email newsletter about it, talking about the product again. They look at it, because it has to clearly be something that somebody wants. Or realizes that there's an immediate need. And as you know, those are few and far between. So you might get those people, they're going to click on that newsletter and go, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and buy this. She's doing a sale, and they click on it and they buy it and it's done. But people think when they do that, they're going to have, instead of one person, it's going to be 100 or 50 or 20. And that takes some effort, to get that done. And, again, it takes effort on your part. So I think that's a big con, is the misconception. I think there's too many people out there educating, and we've talked about this, educating people on autopilot, selling those programs, and once they spend all their money, they go through these programs, they put everything on autopilot, and when nothing happens in 6 months, they're out of money, they have not been filling their pipeline, and then they're in trouble. So I think another con is that it pulls you out of your business. I mean, think about it. When we all started our business, there's a reason we wanted to do it. I look back on, which my story is a little bit different, but, with image consulting, I really wanted to help women and men, feel better about themselves. I wanted them, if they have pride in their appearance, I knew it would give them more confidence, and that's what they need to succeed in life. If I put all of that on autopilot, it pulls me out. It pulls me out. It pulls my expertise out, per se. It pulls that connection out. And you don't really want to do that. Now, let's just say, even with a product, because if you're selling a product, somebody might download it and maybe they never listen to it, or they finally do listen to it and think, oh, I don't really understand this, or I need more info. Maybe they're more of a novice than what you were thinking when you created that product. So without your guidance somehow, or offering more guidance somehow in a personal perspective, it just really starts to pull you out of the business. And I think when that happens to people, I think that's why you see a lot of people, they get disenchanted with their business, because they're not involved in it anymore. With me, I have my marketing, but I'm getting back into the image consulting and the pageant training. And I talked to somebody today, and I didn't want to hang up the phone. I love talking to him. I mean, I was just going on and on and on. And I didn't want to stop talking. And I thought, but that's because I haven't been working in that business, and my heart feels that absence. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. It does. I totally agree with what you're saying, because just saying that I'm just going to create this thing and sit it on the side, it's just going to keep chugging away without me, then you're like, well, why did you even bother to say you want to create this business and have this passion for it. It's kind of running without your involvement.
Yeah. And I think too, you see a lot of people that are doing it because they're like, oh, well, I thought I went through this program and I could make $10,000 a month income. And then that doesn't happen. But again, I kind of go back to you need to have a passion for what you're doing. You have, there's always a reason. And that's how you find your passion. If you want to walk away from that because there's tons of things you can do to make money. And if this is just something that you're doing to make money, you think you're going to throw an ebook out there or an e-program and make millions of dollars. I think that there's nothing wrong with that. But I think too, again, the expectations that you're not going to have to do media interviews. You're not going to have to promote it. You're not going to have to write articles to point people to those products, speak at events, or, do something to really promote that. You are going to have to be involved in that success.
Yeah.
So if your passion isn't there, it's going to show. Yeah. It is going to show. I mean, people can smell that. I think just like dogs can smell fear. Yeah, I agree. And, I think my theory is a lot of this talk comes about because there's people who are coming into business who are not comfortable with the idea of selling. They don't really get it. And I understand that because especially if you're coming out of a corporate environment or you're coming out of school and now I'm going to do this, you may not have been exposed to these ideas about business and selling, and you may have this idea that selling's bad and I'm going to have to try to lie to people to make them buy something. You don't understand the concepts of someone telling you, well, you can just put this together and it'll just sell itself. Seems so much more appealing because it's less that you really have to do. You don't have to put yourself out there. You don't have to get rejected. You don't have to say things that you're not comfortable with because you don't understand, that you don't have to lie to people to get them to buy something. You don't have to hit them over the head to get them to buy it. There's just ways that you present it. I think it sounds more appealing. And I think, for instance, hearing a lot about affiliate marketing, I had added some affiliate things to my blog because I was like, well, okay, what's this about? But then what you find out is you really have to then market those affiliates. So whether you're either creating websites to market them, if you're writing tons of content to get someone to click on a link, there's still work involved. But then I'll hear some of these other, because I'm always like listening to these different other I don't know what to call them, entrepreneur, marketers, or whatever, who are selling these things. And they're like, oh yes, I wrote this one piece of content and someone clicked on this one link and I made 5 figures. It was like, come on now. It is. And it's almost to the point, it's like, I'm out of chuckles for it anymore. I really am, because I just feel like really, and again, and that it's just like winning the lottery. I'm not saying that could not happen, but if you're banking on that happening, it's just not, no. And I don't even participate in affiliate programs anymore. I get asked all the time, and I know you do too, but I just don't do it because the amount of time that it takes to promote it, to even get one person to buy, it is not worth my time. My time is worth a lot more than that, and I'd rather put my time and energy into talking to my potential clients and closing them. Because that's immediate money. And I think that's another thing too that people don't understand. Again, there's just so many misconceptions with that whole concept that, too, even with affiliate marketing, a lot of people think, oh, somebody bought something today. You're not going to see that money for probably a month to 2 months. Yes. They hold on to it. So, that's another thing to consider as well. You can't quit your day job. If it were that easy, everybody would do it. You have to look at those types of things and realize that. Now, again, if you want to write, you want to blog, you want to, do all of these things, then great, then the affiliate marketing could be a good fit. But I will tell you, even like when we were participants in like the ClickBank thing, I think I got one check from them one year that was like for $80. And I remember looking at it going, why did they send me a check? And it took probably 10 or 15 minutes for me to figure out, oh, this must be from, and I thought, oh, okay, whatever, and just went on about my day. But again, that was just from me doing the things that I normally would do.
Yeah.
So you have to really, there's a company that I've heard of, and I actually heard the gentleman on a podcast interview, and he was talking about his business is he will sell your product for you.
Mm-hmm.
And he takes a commission off of what is generated. So for example, if you have a program, let's say it's $500, he might take 30% of that for the sales that are done. So people think, oh, that's great. But the catch is he doesn't take everybody on. If he looks at your product and thinks, hey, I can sell this, great. But what he also does, and a lot of people don't realize, is he's investing money anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000 per month, running Facebook ads, Twitter ads, or LinkedIn or Google, search engine optimization. I mean, he's investing money to get, so out of a $3,000 investment, he figures if he sells $10,000 worth of your, products, which he might alter, hey, I want half, so that way he can cover his expenses and he made $2,000 off of working on your project. But again, people aren't thinking about the amount of money that also has to be involved in that too. Cause there's tons of people that do that. You'll hear they'll spend, they might have a standard $5,000 budget that they invest every month, and they're making 10 grand, but what they're not telling people is that 5 has to go back in there for next month to cover those advertising expenses so they can generate another 5,000 or more that month. So if you don't have the money to do something like that, it won't be a good fit.
Right.
So yeah, I think there's, again, there's so many cons around it, but a lot of it is involved in the misrepresentation, the not painting the whole picture of what's really going to happen behind the scenes. And you have two choices with autopilot. I think you can either invest a lot of money each month or, into it to get the, for the marketing side of it, or you can invest a lot of time into it on the marketing end and very little money. But either way, you're going to pay with either time or money. Mark my words,
Yeah. I agree with that. Because you can't just set it up and say, okay, I'm going to walk away and it's just going to do its thing. And then it's just going to, profits will keep just going up, up, up. And I don't have to do anything, but just one thing I did. And then I step back. I think that's the way it's being represented by a lot of people because it tells people what they want to hear. And, they want to hear that I can just do this and have my freedom and I don't really have to do anything. I'm not saying that they're lazy. I'm just saying they don't understand how business works.
Right.
And so this lines up with what they believe that you can do. And hearing, the numbers, hearing about how every month is a 5-figure month, and hearing about how it just keeps going up and up, and you never do have to change anything, you have to manage anything, you never do check any numbers, you never do any selling. I mean, it sounds wonderful, but when you've been out here and you've also gone through things, and I can say I've paid money for programs and found out the truth, but it sounded wonderful before I knew any better, and then really figured it out and realized, that's not really the way this thing works. Right. That's when you wake up and go, okay, I've heard this before. Maybe different people said it, but now it's just the same stuff repackaged into the same old, tired, whatever, that they're just trying to, it's just a new word now total pilot. And, I'm on the beach and the business is running itself somehow. And my money just keeps going up. I never lose anything and there's no risk. And, the thing is that having systems in place that help things to run is not really what we're saying in terms of autopilot. You could have systems in place that help you to get things done that, like if you have a funnel and you have things feeding into things and someone gets knocked in and it leads to something else. And that's not really what we're saying. It's more at least, the thing that really caught my attention and I found really irritating was all the claims about how easy it is to make so much money, but then the people don't really mention, as you said, okay, yes, Facebook ads, but they don't mention that they just spent thousands of dollars on those Facebook ads to get this big payday that they're touting as an autopilot payday. So
right. Right.
You know?
And you're right. There's certain things within your business that you should be doing that, click funnels, like an autoresponder, sending out automated emails, there's those things but I don't consider those autopilot. I consider those like what you just said, having those systems in place to run your business. But that's, again, key phrase here, systems in place to run your business, not where it runs itself. But the other thing, too, that I think, if you're going to do like with the affiliate things, for example, back in the day when we were both with Blog Talk Radio.
Yes.
And you remember Blog Talk, and I guess they still do this, but for example, if you've got a show, a podcast or something like that, if your podcasting platform has an affiliate program or revenue generating program, which Blog Talk did back and I guess they still do, but I participated in that. And even though I made some money each month, basically it covered most of my fee that I paid them every month for my elevated platform. So if it was $50 a month, I might get a check that month for $40. So I was only really paying $10 for my platform. So that's something that helped because it was something I was doing anyway. It's not like I was doing additional stuff to get that number to go up, but it helped me cover that bill. So those are some things that would be good. So, if you look at your products and your services that you're using, if they have a program like that, put something out there or participate in their revenue program and make sure that you include that on your marketing efforts. But, if you really want to make like $1,000 a month with it or $2,000 a month, you're going to have to go above and beyond what you're already doing. You do that takes you away from your business of what you're really setting out to do. So it's just some of those things that could be, a system in place and that a program you could participate in, but don't count that it's going to get you rich. I mean, it's just, YouTube videos, are another one if you're going to be making YouTube videos for your business, and I think everyone should. Those are things that you're going to want to do and, put those up there and, participate in their revenue program. I mean, even if you get a check for $10 or $15, that could cover postage for you one month. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's just something, every little bit helps, but it's something you're already doing for your business. So you're not going above and beyond and saying, hey, I'm going to be a YouTube millionaire. Like, I can't think of some of the people. There's several of them that, have millions and millions of views. But again, it's, try to make it something you're already doing. Because again, you might as well, if you're going to sit here and say you're going to do YouTube videos on cats and your business is in the health and wellness industry, and you're going to make millions of dollars making these cat videos, you're going to be prepared to push that. You're going to have to really, really push. And, if you get paid a penny or half a penny or whatever it is, the going rate is for a YouTube video per view, you got your work cut out for you. Right. You really do.
Yeah. I think that's important because a lot of people may not realize what goes into all of that. They may think, oh, I just put it out there and then it happens. And I don't really have to do anything, but put it out there. And I know that that's a misconception, that a lot of people have, particularly, I know that's true about, writers who publish books and they think, oh, I can self-publish and I'll put this out here and it's going to sell. And no, you have to promote it. You have to let people know it's there. You have to do different things and find the way to reach people, whatever platform it is you're going to choose. It says, I'm going to let people know that my work is out here. It's not just going to sell itself. I don't care what you think it's going to do. I wish it would sell itself, but it really doesn't. You have to put things in place and you have to kind of see what the results are and monitor it and all that kind of thing, because all these different trends change and they shift and you can't, as far as some people saying, well, I do this thing and it keeps going, and I just really get irritated when people act as though they never really have to check their results and make adjustments. Like I put this in place last year, and now it's still chugging along, and in every month it just goes up. And I'm not here monitoring it. That's not true. That's not how it works. If that's what you believe, you're not getting the whole story.
Yeah, and I would even say, and I kind of did a little test about this too, and one of the things that I was going to ask you about too is how do you think this whole autopilot thing, how it actually affects closing? Because I wanted to share some numbers with you and with the audience because I think people would find this interesting. I have, my marketing side of the business, and the flip side of that, we have image consulting, pageant training, that we do, and I love both parts of my business. But, with the pageant training, we are involved with a pageant service, and it's part of our advertising where we pay for leads. And these leads, they come in quite frequently, and they're leads that people are interested in. They're looking for a pageant coach, or they want training. And what I did last year is I put them on what you would call the autopilot program, okay? And I had about 20 of them on this where they filled out the form, and what we did is they automatically got an email back saying, thank you for your request, blah, blah, blah. We have a special deal for you, and it was a really good deal on some pageant training, that they could do through Skype, remotely. And, we sent them the email, we sent them a link for a form for them to fill out. Out of those 20 that we sent that to, one person filled out the form, and then after they fill out the form, they're sent to something called, where they can actually schedule on your calendar, to book an appointment, and they never actually did that. So it was basically they went nowhere until we picked up the phone and started calling them and talking to them one-on-one. What's going on? What are you trying to do? Is it, if it's for their child or if it's for them personally, what do you need help with? Because again, even though, like with pageant training, do we have an audio program that they could buy and download that's less than $25 now? Yes, we do. But it's not a one size fits all, clearly. So if you don't get in there and find out what people need, if they're trying to do fundraising, or are they trying to build their platform, do they need help with interviewing questions? Do they need help with picking out what clothes, or do they, there's so many different facets of it. And if you don't talk to them and find out what that is, now out of those, a different batch of leads, we didn't do the same thing. We did send out an email, and then we immediately called, and clearly that closing ratio was a lot higher, because out of the 20, we were able to talk to 10, and then out of those 10, I think 3 or 4 of them actually closed. But again, it's because we were involved in the process. So me taking myself out of the process did not work. It worked against me, and in a sense, it made me lose money, because those were 20 leads that came in over 1 month. So the money that I spent for those leads is lost. It's a loss. But it's a good lesson to learn that, not just for myself, but to share with this, because it's going to autopilot. If you feel like that's the thing it's going to affect your closing. And that's why I said your numbers are going to be so low, and they don't have to be.
Yeah, I agree.
But I think there's something, even though somebody's an expert in their industry, Deb, I think they're so afraid to pick up the phone, or, contact them with another email. Oh, I don't want to bother anybody. And it, again, it just goes back to, that's part of the selling and closing process.
Yeah.
You're going to have to, because again, you look at it, that person, even as a business coaching thing, that person could get that automated email down. They might never download your free gift or download your free audio or whatever. And, they may not think to call you, or a lot of people nowadays don't even have a phone number on their website to call.
Yeah.
So if they have no way of getting a hold of you, if they have questions, sometimes people are afraid to ask questions, as dumb as that sounds, because they don't want to appear stupid.
Yeah.
So it's up to you. I think it's part of that process as in a sales role, that you need to make your prospect feel comfortable, because, again, if they're not comfortable with you, if they're not understanding everything, they're not going to pay you anyway.
No, that's true. That's true. I agree. Yeah, I agree. And I think that's very true, because I have recently been working on kind of pulling everything I'm doing under one umbrella, workshops and just content. I was doing some content creation workshops and social media workshops for small business owners and Chris, a writer. So just kind of pulling it together into one thing. And I was saying, well, some coaching. Do I just want people to, get on my calendar? But I said, what I would prefer is for them to just contact me, send a query, and let's talk and set up, let's set up a time to talk. Because just saying, well, put this on my calendar, a lot of times people aren't going to do that. There are times when I may go to a website and I see that, and I kind of went, I don't know if I don't take that next step to do that. And then I'm saying, well, if I'm on the other side of this, would I do that? Or would I just want to reach out to that person? At this point, if it's not by phone, then maybe it's by email. Maybe social media, if there's a social media contact on there, and just say, well, let's talk first before we move to the next step, because that way you know what you're about, what I'm about. Is this really going to work for you? Is this something we should be involved in the first place? So I think contact with that person, and that, in terms of really when you're working with them in that way, it's extremely important, because you don't know if this person really is a fit, if you're a fit for them. And it makes it more personal. It's not just some anonymous person now who's going through this whole process, on your website, and maybe they'll get to talk to you at some point when they go through all that. I think sometimes people just kind of, as you said, maybe they get uncomfortable. They're not sure what to say. They're not sure if going through the process. They're not going to take the next step because they don't know. You really want to make contact with them, I think, fairly early on if you can. And then you can have, I think, better chance of really finding out if you're really in tune. And I just say that from a position of coaching, because sometimes you're not. You may not be, or maybe that person, what I've found in the past sometimes is they just want to talk to someone just to vent in that moment, and not because they're going to really buy any services, but because they just want to make that contact with another human being, that they're not talking to. So, it depends, of course, on the situation, the person, on you, but I think you really have to make that contact to just get through that point to find out if you both are on the same page, as opposed to thinking I'm just going to have this anonymous process go on. I think that takes something away from it. And especially when you're talking about the kind of thing we're doing with coaching, things where you really have to make that connection with the other person. I think it's kind of hard to detach yourself from that, just to lead them to a class or lead into something that you're never making a connection directly with them. Kind of, I don't know. It's something about it. There's something missing in there for me.
Well, and I think, you're right. And I think, again, that's another thing too. If you have a program where they're going to be signing up, but maybe it's a class-based program that you're going to be teaching, or a seminar where their first contact with you is going to be in that classroom setting or webinar setting where there are other people there. And the worst thing you can possibly do is have someone in there that really is not only not a good fit for what you do, but like you said, maybe it's somebody that and we've all had those, where somebody calls and they just want to vent about pricing, or they want to vent about why do I have to pay? One of the things that we get, well, why do I have to pay for media opportunities? I thought they were free. Well, again, you don't, but that's not what we sell. We sell you, the information. Here are the media outlets that you can apply to. Then once you submit it, those are free opportunities, but it's just they're not understanding. Or, we've all had them where it's like, oh, you hang up the phone and you're like, geez, I just dodged a bullet. It's just that bad. So, again, that's another reason why you don't want to pull yourself out of your business, because and if you have somebody that pays you a few $1,000s to work with them, and they turn it, it's like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde type personality, as soon as they start, they have like a different personality once they start working with you. And it's, again, it's just, you want to head those things off. And the only way you're going to be able to do that, I mean, you can't set that up on autopilot to say, how can we, I'll figure it out on autopilot, if this person's going to be a good person for me to work with, or are they a lunatic, or because here's the newsflash, people, lunatics have money to pay for stuff.
Yes.
They do. They really do. And, it's just kind of, again, you've got to get a feeling that it takes into that gut instinct, Deb, that we all have.
True.
That we're working with someone and our gut's telling us, there's something not right about this. And we've talked about this before too. That's a huge indicator for me. If I'm like, I don't know about this. This doesn't sound good. And the times that I've gone against that feeling, I paid for it dearly. And it's really pulled me away from my business, pulled me away from making time for my business. So and again, unless you talk to them and have a conversation, you're not going to get that feeling.
You don't know.
It goes undetected.
It's true. You don't really know what you're really dealing with. And I've talked to people about, let's say, writing books or whatever was we were making contact about. And one person I talked to had an impression that somehow, I guess the book was going to write itself or something. It didn't really, they wanted to write a book for their coaching, but it seemed like they didn't really want to have to physically write it. And which is fine, however it goes for it, I don't know. But, the more I was mentioning about things that would have to be done, the more the person seemed like they were kind of like not happy with that. So it was good to talk to that person and find out what their expectation was. Because sometimes the expectation is not what you think. It's not, you get a feel for them, they get a feel for you, this is really going to work. If you're leading them to a class and you've created this content and they're just going to go straight to that and they don't deal with you, well, maybe you can have that going on, but still, at some point, you have to market this thing. You can't just have it sitting there and say, well, people are just going to magically get to it. They're going to go through, their funnel or the steps to get to that class before they're going to take their money out. But I just get the feeling that there's some impression that people magically, like right now online classes or, people pushing that. But the thing is, why should they take the class from you if they don't even know who you are and what you're about? You have to get them to that point where they're going to actually pay money to say, this person is saying something I want to hear. How can you really put them on autopilot if you haven't really created the foundation first for them to even get to that point where they're going to pay?
Hi, this is Deborah. Not only am I host of Women Entrepreneurs Radio, but I'm also a writer and coach. I've learned that making professional changes calls for a change in mindset, and that's not always easy to do. In my book, Think Like an Entrepreneur, Transforming Your Career and Taking Charge of Your Life, you'll learn the 5 steps to thinking like an entrepreneur so that you can move from idea to action. You'll also get information on how to manage fear of failure and how to banish self-doubt. And you'll receive lots of motivation to pick you up and point you in the right direction when you're facing the emotional and mental challenges that come with making life changes. In fact, one reviewer said, the book gave me ideas to match with my own feelings. This book is clear, straightforward. All tips are really good and easy to apply. I couldn't agree more. So get your copy today of Think Like an Entrepreneur, Transforming Your Career and Taking Charge of Your Life. It's available in print, ebook, and audiobook on Amazon.com.
I think that gets underestimated. The whole work that has to happen to create this autopilot thing. I
think creating it is one part, maintaining it is another.
Yeah.
And keeping it go. There's like 3 different segments to it, as well. Because once you create the content, you gotta market it.
Yeah, that's true.
And then you might have, changes that you want to make at that point. It's just really, really a whole process in itself.
Yeah, I think so. I think so too. It's not as straightforward as it may be presented that you could just put this together and poof. It's it's all out there, you know. I mean, I was just even looking at something about Etsy because I was looking into that for a minute to see what's going on with that, and you know, there was this whole class that this person put together, and I got the PDF of it. But there's so many parts that you have to set up, and then there's so many things you look at with SEO and how you're promoting, and you have to look at maybe what products are selling, what isn't selling. So you still can put stuff out there, but you have all this work that you still have to do to find out what's selling, what's not selling, how you're presenting it, what your copy looks like, what your SEO looks like. So you're still managing this thing. It's still no, and the person who presented is autopilot, so I'm not saying they did, but whatever you do, it's going to take some level of management somewhere in there. You're going to have to manage the result. You can't just sit it out there and say it's going to go for itself without your involvement in any place. And if someone's presenting it that way, they're not being truthful as to what is really going on behind the scenes. You know, so, I think that's a thing for people to keep in mind when they hear these words.
It is. And, you know, and again, it just goes back to why contact is just so vital to whether it's on autopilot or not. You have to have contact with these people. You know, we have another person with our marketing that they filled out a form 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. Okay. 2 years ago. And, I followed up with them, and then I kind of tapered off the following up, and then boom, out of the blue, last month, hey, we need to have a conversation. We want to hire you. And so it's, you know, it's kind of, you got to have that one-on-one. But again, I mean, this has been going on for 2 years. We've had a couple of different conversations and talked, and not something that we met in person, just, you know, we've created that relationship, but it's just, you know, for what we do, that's a standard turnaround is 1 to 2 years for our marketing clients the ones that are working with us one-on-one, for business to business. But you got to look at that too. People have to consider what they do. If you're just selling, you know, your book, or you're just selling, you know, maybe some automated like classes, you have some things on, Udemy that you're marketing, that are lower cost. Maybe all the products are under $50. You know, your turnaround time should be a lot shorter, you know, for people to make a decision, cause money will factor into it as well. But again, I think the higher priced, higher ticket items, you definitely have to have some type of contact. You at least have to have a phone conversation.
Yeah.
Same thing when I signed up with Pageant Planet, I created an account with them, to list our pageant for, you know, training services. And even with that, I was getting automated emails, but they picked up the phone and called me, and that's exactly why they closed me. Exactly why they closed me. So, yes. You know, I don't care what it is, contact has got to happen at some point.
I agree, especially people investing a certain amount of money into this. I think it's important to make that contact, because otherwise there's always a distance there. And a lot of times there's a sense that you're not really connected, and you're not really involved, you're not really invested in what's going on, because, you know, the person on the other side might not even know who you are, but who you are, maybe you've invested all these thousands of dollars with them, or hundreds of dollars, and there's no contact. Maybe there's a group call, but there, you know, maybe, but that's it. And I think there should be a little bit more than that going on, personally.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I think there should be, in terms of just because you've invested in it, if nothing else, you know. So I think that definitely covers a lot of what we wanted to talk about. Did you have any other thoughts to share on this topic, Kerry?
I think, you know, again, just going back to the contact, it's just so vital. and just don't buy into what people are saying. And we said this too. I talked to you about this, that I actually saw some other person on Facebook kind of doing a rant and kind of calling people out who were inflating their numbers. Similar thing on, I've got my business on autopilot and I make 6 figures. And, how do you know that it could be 6 figures, but maybe there's a decimal point in there? It's just, you can't go by, don't always believe what you hear. These people might be telling you, but they're not always telling you 100% of what's going on. The person that you're working with, maybe it's a colleague, and they're doing, they went through a Facebook advertising program. Oh, it's great. I'm getting a lot of leads and they're closing, but maybe that person has $5,000 to invest in that they can keep reinvesting that money and reusing it each month. And they're not thinking, oh, you probably don't have that. So they're probably not going to mention that. Not that they want to hurt you. It's just, there's always, like they say in divorce, there's his side, her side, then there's the truth. And that's how you have to look at autopilot. Don't you love my little comparison? I've done one where somebody drove off the cliff, the cruise control thing.
But they're perfect because they show what we're saying. They do, And
I just hope they make people laugh because, I know I laugh when I hear it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I sound like a nut.
But they're good comparisons because they help people to see what we're saying. And, there's people sounding the alarm to warn you what you should look out for if you're investing in a business. But everybody's not going to tell you the truth of what they're doing, or they're going to tell you, well, my launch just made $50,000, but they don't talk about the months that they're working and the money they put into it and everything that went into what they just did. They just tell you the end result. They don't tell you what happened leading to that result. And then you just listen to the end result, but you don't know all the work that went up to that point that they had to put in to create that magical autopilot product. So just keep that in mind when you're out here and you're hearing claims, because they're claims. There's always been claims. It's not new. Just keep it in mind so that you're not caught and wasting money on things, and then you wake up and realize you spent all your money and nothing to show for it. So that's what we want to share with you. So, I guess we're at the end of this particular program. So I want to thank you very much, Kerry, for joining me again.
As always, it's a pleasure. We always have so much fun.
I know. So I know, everyone, that you've enjoyed this show, and please make sure that you share it on social media, and just if you have any feedback, definitely you can respond to myself, respond to Kerry, and just let us know your thoughts. If you have any particular ones on this topic, that would be great, and hope this is very helpful for you. So once again, it's been Women Entrepreneurs Radio with Deborah Bailey and Kerry Heaps. So glad you joined me, and we'll talk to you again next time. Bye-bye. Thanks for joining us. You can also join in the conversation on Facebook.com/Women Entrepreneurs and on the website, WomenEntrepreneursSecrets.com. And don't forget to listen in on dvcoach.podomatic.com and on iTunes.